Hi guys. Hello, hello, hello. Hi. How's it going? Hi, Mama. Hi, Dark Purple Star, LSA. Hi, Jeff. C Brown 92. Hi. How are you guys? Hey, so we're doing things a little bit differently today because I am the only one here. JP is not here. He had to work. So it's just going to be me and Alex Skolnick from Testament. I had a great birthday. Thank you so much. And I feel healthy now that I don't have a gallbladder. It was a very exciting couple of weeks. But everything's settled down now. I'm another year older and a little bit lighter without the gallbladder. So I'm super excited about today because we have a couple things going on. If you are here to see Alex, he will be on in just a second. And I just wanted to let you guys know that in the pinned comments today, we actually don't really have a voting action today, other than to, if you're new and you don't know what NerdsVote is and you've never seen Between Two Nerds before, to go on to NerdsVote.com. You can check your registration, you can register to vote, and you can also get our cool logo tees for 15% off. So that's what the pinned comment is. Now, if you have questions for Alex, I'm going to bring him on in just a second. He's here. But if you have questions for him, just go ahead and throw them in the little question box below, and we will get to them. In the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and bring on the guitar player for Testament, formerly known as Legacy, and also a huge icon in the Bay Area thrash metal scene, an old friend of mine, and also the head of the Alex Skolnick Trio. I'm going to get him on here right now. It may take me a second because I'm not supposed to be driving by myself. Is he here? We're waiting. We're connecting. He's here.
Hey, Courtenay.
Hi.
Hey. Good
What's
to see
happening,
you.
my friend?
Hello there.
Oh my gosh,
Nice
I'm
to
so
see your
happy
face.
to see you.
Great to see your face.
I know it's been a little while. I mean, I think it was New York Comic Con, and before that, like 100 years.
Oh yeah, yeah. It was late last year, and then it was like decades before that. I mean, it's kind of weird.
Not that many decades, guys. Just
Yeah,
kidding. There's a lot of decades.
you
It's
never
fine.
know.
So
Maybe
I'm
one
super
day.
excited to have you on. Normally, I have my other nerd with me, JP Karliak, and he is not here today. So I just want to explain to people who I have our regular viewers who know about NerdsVote. But if you're watching because Alex is here, which I'm sure you are, nerdsvote.com and this show, Between Two Nerds, was started by a couple of voice actors, myself, Courtenay Taylor, JP Karliak, and Mary Elizabeth McGlynn. Were all voice actors in video games and cartoons and stuff like that. And we wanted to get the education and information for voting out into the nerd space, particularly at Comic-Cons. And the beautiful thing about Comic-Cons is they cover all kinds of nerddom. So it was perfect, not just, classic nerd stuff. And
So I'm between one nerd today.
yes, today we are between one nerd, but
Yeah.
but normally it would be two. And when COVID struck, we were not able to do Comic-Cons anymore for voter registration stuff. So we've kind of shifted to online stuff.
Yeah.
So now we interview nerds of all different stripes. We are sort of a source for voter registration information and news. And we throw in these chats with all of your favorite, what we call notable nerds. And today we have a notable nerd that is a totally different kind of nerddom, but I think he has some secret classic nerddom as well. Alex Skolnick. Hi.
Hi.
That's the
Notable
explanation.
nerd. I'm going to have to use that. That's a
Yeah.
new one. I like it.
Well,
It's
now
catchy.
you're able to because you've joined the club.
I am in the club, and it could almost be a band name. We'll see.
Yeah. But it would have to be like a super group or something, I think.
Absolutely. Do you think?
Yes. So how are you? What's
We'll
going
talk.
on? Is this your apartment with all
Yes.
the guitars all over?
Yeah, this is
Pretty
sort
nice.
of my office studio. I've got a few instruments, probably
Just a couple.
more than I need. Yeah.
Nice. And we can see your face now. Yay.
Oh, is that better? Yeah, I'm sorry. The
Yeah.
light is blurry. I could close a curtain. That might
Guys,
be part of it. The sun
this
is
is what
setting.
happens. You got to find your key light, Alex. You got to turn your face to the light, not away from the there. Like tilt it that way. See, there we go. Now we can see a little more. Awesome.
Okay, you're an expert in this. Yeah.
I am. I know how to find a key light
Yeah.
wherever you want to throw it. So how are you? What's happening? Like we're all stuck inside for COVID, and how are you coping?
Yeah, it's been really interesting. Yeah, I feel like I've been in some strange time, like compressed time, because I've been home since March. So I guess I've been home 4 months. It feels like less than half of that. I still feel like I just got back from touring. I was touring in Europe when all this began. And,
Italy, right? Weren't you guys like cruising in Italy?
We had one show scheduled in Italy, and it got canceled. It was like right before Italy started shutting down. And that, amazingly, out of like over 24 shows, that was one of the only ones that got canceled. The other one was the final show in Hanover, Germany. And by then, every place was shutting down. And it was so strange because when we left, it was just barely in the news. It was, oh yeah, there's this new thing you need to watch out for. It's called the coronavirus, but nobody in the States even has it. And then one person in the States got it. And then Italy started flaring up. And yeah, so it's kind of surreal. So we began the tour with it was barely on the radar. We ended the tour and it was just chaos, and we didn't know if we were going to be able to fly back because there was this announcement about travel bans, and
right.
So it got so crazy. And then so we got back in early March, and then New York was basically shut down a short time later. New York became the epicenter. I'm right in Brooklyn, New York. So yeah, I mean, I've kind of seen, and now we're like the best place to be, because we shut down, and most people were diligent about it. But yeah, in that time, I should have had several tours, both with mostly with Testament, but I also do instrumental music, and that lucrative racket of jazz and jazz rock.
Yes.
And yeah, there was some activity with my own group, by Trio. This great virtuoso bass player I play with, Stuart Ham. Like all that stuff got canceled. There was a music camp that got canceled that I was supposed to do. And then, of course, over the last few years in Europe, there have been these great music festivals. So a band like Testament can usually count on a pretty full summer, just going to Europe, bouncing from festival to festival, doing headlining shows in between. Needless to say, that all got canceled. And then the tour we were on in February and March, that was supposed to have a U.S. leg later in this year. And now, obviously, like it went, it very quickly went to, okay, the next month, everything's shut down to, all right, the next couple months, everything's shut down. The summer is gone. The fall. So what do? You adjust. I've been very busy with other stuff somehow. I've got all this energy. I'm used to being on stage every night. Yeah. So I have to channel it somewhere. So I've channeled it into online tutorials, collaborations with people. I've been hired for sessions. I've learned my software skills have developed a lot.
Right.
big
Isn't that crazy?
nerd cred.
Now
Yeah,
all of
so
a sudden.
I've learned so much. Like I've learned new platforms. I buckled down. I learned Final Cut. I've learned Logic Audio better than I knew it. I kind of barely functioned on it
Right.
before. I've
Same.
actually gotten quite good. And others, Patreon. I've learned that's a whole other platform. I have a Patreon now.
Oh,
That
cool.
connects. I share things on that through Vimeo. So I have a Vimeo account. Yeah, so it works with all these other apps, and it's just been this whole new experience, dividing your time between apps and creating music.
Yeah.
And, you know, in some ways it hasn't been so bad because you get so dependent on touring and travel. It's kind of okay to have a break. So I'm still at that point where I don't mind. I haven't been home this long in years.
Yeah.
I'm still okay with it. We'll see how that goes. But
yeah,
now,
I feel like I'm starting to the same thing, just from like the voice actor perspective of like, I used to just go into a booth and someone else did all that stuff, and I was like, cool, like, you know, same kind of thing. You make the noise and someone else deals with it, and now it's definitely made me way more proficient in stuff that I'm doing performance capture auditions from home, like video game sessions from home, animation stuff, and I'm now just like, yeah, I mean, I'm still sweating the whole time I'm doing it, but it's been, I feel like when we first started, I was like, this is great, because I'm just like, I get a chance to just kind of take it easy, and I was like baking and stuff like that, and then all the work started coming back, and I was like, oh man, I got to learn a bunch of stuff, and now I'm just tired. Now I'm just tired and eating other people's baked goods, so.
Yeah. That's good, though, that you know, I like doing it at home as opposed to, the studio being watched. Yeah, I love having the privacy to just hit record when I want to hit record. And,
oh, that's interesting.
Delete stuff when I want to delete, without, people, because you get in these situations and maybe you don't think it's your best performance, but everybody else is telling you it is. And, and maybe they're right, but I like being able to have the final say in the parts I'm working on.
See, because I'm the reverse. I mean, obviously you are out, you're always performing with a band. Right. Well, not always, but a lot of the time you're performing with a band, where we work completely separately and alone in our little glass booth. So I'm the other way. I want somebody to tell me to stop, because I'm in the booth constantly like listening and being like, no, I could do that better. Oh, you know what? I'll just erase the whole thing and start again. And then yesterday was 2 animation auditions and a PCAP self-tape, and I was still up at 11:30 and exhausted. So I want somebody to literally just come in and be like, put it away, your phone, go do something else.
It's probably good. I have been up till 3 and 4 in the morning sometimes, just trying to get something right. And
but weren't you, I feel like you were always like that. I
guess so. Yeah, I've always been sort of a worker.
I feel like I could offer a teeny little bit of perspective of how you were as a young man. And I remember you being like that. If you guys are just joining us.
Sorry, go ahead.
Huh?
I was just going to say, it's forcing.
You go. Your turn.
Okay. No, it's forcing me to work on certain things. Like work. Not force myself to finish. I think that's a problem I have. I have this. I want the thrill of like finishing something, and I know I can finish. And I know I'm learning it's so much healthier to just put a project away and just take a note of where you are and come back to it, because you can't finish everything in one set unless if you have a deadline, that's different. But there's a lot of projects where I probably spend much more time on it than I need to. So that's my
and that's the hard thing too, is if you're at home and I had to join this thing that's actually out of New York called caveday.org, and they do like monotasking chunks where you like Zoom with a bunch of people you don't know. and they are like, you focus on one thing, and when it's over, it's over, you know? And so, because if you're home and you can work from home, I feel like sometimes you just end up being like, well, I could just work forever, you know, just give me some, you know, a frozen burrito and I can go. So it's a kind of a double-edged sword in that you can kind of be like, yeah, I think I will learn to DJ. And also like, I think I am done on the 57th take of this.
Yeah.
But, you know.
It also depends on how much experienced you are at whatever the thing is, right? If it's me doing a rhythm guitar track, for example, it's probably not going to take me that long. Solos, I'm a little more picky about. That just doesn't seem to get easier, and I have high standards. But I have a good idea of how long it's going to take. I always know it's going to take longer, but when it's something new, it can just take so long. So I've been planning to do a podcast forever, way before everybody had a podcast. And that's another good thing about being back. I've like finally been able to kind of get it together. So I actually have the first episode up on my Patreon page, and I'm launching it on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and all that stuff. And I had to learn how to do that. It's not that easy. You know, the whole process you go through and Photoshop. That's another app I've had to get my skills together. So anyway, this first episode of this oh my God, the amount of time I spent on it is insane. Like I was working on it like over a month ago, and it's done. And now I'm doing episode 2, and I'm determined not to take that long.
Well, yeah, I mean, you've got a learning curve and stuff. But what's the podcast? Is it guitar based? Is it? I mean, you have so many things that you're interested in, and I love following you on social media because you're, you know, outspoken and opinionated, and also you have all this creative stuff going on. So what is it focus? First of all, what's it called, and what does it focus on?
It's called Moods and Modes, and you know, modes for musicians out there, they're components of scales, but obviously, yeah, there's many different meanings there, and initially it is guitar focused. The first few episodes are very guitar focused, but I don't think I'm going to limit it to that. Originally, I'd imagined sort of like NPR piano jazz with Mary McPartlin for guitar. That's going to be really, even before all this, that's really hard to do. And I did get together with some great guitar players, and I've got these sessions, and I'm going to release those now and then. But I realize with everything that's happened and how hard it is who knows when we'll be able to be in the same room again with other musicians, and the technology hasn't made it possible to play well online yet. That's not going to be it. So I think it's going to be a reflection of what you've seen online, depending on what's going on. But for now, it's more music focused. But knowing myself, I'm not going to limit it to that.
Guys, if you are joining us, this is Alex Skolnick, the guitar player for Testament, and he is here. We're on Between Two Nerds, which today is Between One Nerd because my co-host is on a job. We are an offshoot of NerdsVote.com, where we try and get voter information, registration, and news out to the nerdyverse and all kinds of nerds. And if you have questions for Alex, go ahead and throw them in the question box down below, and I will get to them. I actually see that there is one from Amy Way, Sassy Queen. What is the favorite song you played? Ever. Apparently. Ever? The favorite song. A favorite song to play.
Well, I assume you mean like a song I'm involved with, because I've played a lot of cover songs and gosh, favorites. It's really tough. It's really tough to narrow it down. I mean, they're all so.
Is there
different.
one that feels sort of like it was a turning point for you, or something that you kind of really had a breakthrough learning or creating?
Yeah. I'll pick. So this will be I think a good one to pick because it sort of represents both sides of my playing and my career. So before rejoining Testament in the 2000s, I was on sort of a jazz sabbatical for a while. I moved to New York. I studied at the New School, got my degree, and just I'd always wanted to study music at the university level. And my folks always wanted me to go to college. So it kind of solved a number of birds with one stone. And during that time, I put my trio together. And I think what made it unique was the idea to not just do jazz standards, but to take songs that I knew from the world of rock and metal and make them more. And we just noticed we were getting this great reaction whenever we would do some of these songs. So nowadays we tend to play more, like our most recent album was all original songs, but there are a few songs from our first album that we come back that we still play, and one of them is "Still Loving You" by the Scorpions.
Aww.
And yeah, it actually takes me back to our adolescence.
Yeah, totally. It's a very I'm like, oh, it makes me so emotional. It's like my teen angst song.
Yes, me too. So I still feel that when I play that song, except now we interpret it so many different ways. So it just goes so many places. And yes, the Scorpions had a lot to do with me getting into heavy metal. But here I am playing with an upright bassist and a jazz drummer doing that same song and reinterpreting it. So to this day, whenever we play that song, it brings all that together. So I think it's just a unique experience, different than playing any other song. So that's my pick. "Still Loving You" by
That's a sweet answer. I'm gonna. M Lawless 7400 wants to know: will you be writing a second book? Loved the first one.
Oh, very, very cool. I thought about it. It's just it's so time consuming, and I'm just not feeling it at the moment.
Uh-huh.
It's possible. It's possible. I just feel like attention spans have gotten shorter, and at least when I first had the idea to do it, there weren't that many books about being in a band like post 1985.
Mm-hmm.
By the time I finally got it done, and this has been it's like the same thing with podcasts. It's like by the time I finally have something to offer, everybody's doing it. It's not news anymore.
Yeah.
But so yeah, I'm not as inspired to do it right now, but it's possible. I mean, there's some great stories from the time I wasn't in Testament that I'd love to tell the story of like the jazz program at the New School,
mm-hmm.
and just some of the insane people I met there, including like respected musicians, but they're just like a couple of them are just like characters out of a Hunter Thompson novel.
Yeah.
So maybe
you have your foot in two really interesting, musical genres. I, of course, had to watch Murder in the Front Row, just to take me back.
Wasn't that fun?
Oh my God!
Yeah, that's a time warp. Just going back, right? It's
so funny because when you're in that scene, you're just like, yeah, this is just life. And now looking back on it, I'm like, oh, I watched that with kind of a separate eye,
right?
And I was like, oh, this is now one of those things from when like we were kids and we were watching like I was watching like punk rock stuff from like the 70s, like
Yeah.
the New York Dolls and stuff like that, where I was like, oh man, that scene must have been so cool to be in. And I looked at that and kind of was able to kind of step away from it and be like, as somebody who, you know, take off the person that actually was at Ruthie's and stuff, take it off and just look at it kind of from a different perspective and go like, oh, it's taken on a whole different life.
Yeah. It wasn't always as cool as it looks from,
no,
from the outside.
They left a lot of stuff out.
Yeah. Yes.
It would be a really long documentary, but yeah, it was really sweet to see. It's so sweet to see how different, you know, knowing everybody as teenagers and in their 20s and stuff, to see how different and creative. And it really struck me because, you know, same with the punk rock scene, which was more where I came from. The people that we were such fringe elements. And now when, as you get older, you see that people like really do come around and they're just eloquent and funny and kind and all the things that like you didn't see as teenagers. You were just like, you know, drinking beer and rolling around being idiots and stage diving. And now to hear people who have kind of gone through that scene and where they've come out on the other side of it, but still able to like produce and uphold that music, but also have a totally different perspective to it too. It was really sweet to see.
I was thinking about this exact same thing the other day. Because, are you still there? You froze for a second.
Oh, no, it's just probably internet.
So I was listening to I thought the exact same thing when I heard a Steely Dan lyric, of all things. And they're talking about, generations before us.
Yeah.
But it was the exact same thing. Right? It's the song Kid Charlemagne is it's really about a guy that like never grows up. Like from his scene. It's not the metal scene, but it's more like the summer of love. Let's say right. One of the lines is those San Francisco nights, you were the best in town.
Oh yeah. Uh-huh.
I think he's a drug dealer. Basically, like everybody, it's years later, and everybody's moved on, and he's not moving on. And so there's this one line. I think it's all those Dayglow freaks who used to paint their face. They've joined the human race. Some things will never change. And I was thinking about our scene. Yeah. I was like, okay, you know what? We it's not like we sold out. It's not like we're all
No.
No,
we did not.
But we did not. We're like, I think we're especially you and me, we're as independent as we were. Yeah. We didn't take some job in middle management that we hate.
No, I chose the route of, waking up in the middle of the night and going, what the fuck am I doing? Oh my God.
Yeah. We all do. But we grew out of that whole, the immaturity of it. Just most of us did, some people never do.
Yeah.
But you learn that you don't need to get trashed, and you don't need to get stuck in like everybody else's drama. A lot of that was just, it was teen angst. We were really young. I mean, I think we were around the same age. Yeah.
We were just packaged differently. We were all going through the same kinds of things that everyone else was going through. I think to a certain degree, emotionally, yes, but obviously when you live in the Bay Area, I think you have somewhat of a different experience with I think the Bay Area is really distinct in a way that, people who lived there in the 70s and 80s, in particular, 60s, 70s, and 80s, in particular, had a certain kind of lifestyle that they pursued. And so there was a certain kind of parenting style that was pursued, because I definitely know that my friends who were not raised in the Bay Area did not get to go out on like Fridays and Saturday nights or during the week and go see shows or play shows and stuff like that. But I'm super grateful to have had that experience because I feel like so many of us got to go creative paths that maybe, although I do wake up sometimes going like, oh my God, what am I doing? Like, who's a voice actor for her living? That there's a thing of like, you can do this. Like anything is possible.
You have
you know, creativity matters, and
you have to be your own support system sometimes.
Burrito Mamas wants to know, who were your top musical inspirations as a kid?
Oh, as a kid? Well, I remember like some of the first music I ever heard was the Beatles. And I was told by babysitters and my folks, like I used to sing Beatles songs, like before I was old enough to remember. And some of those songs, they're very relatable to a kid. You know, you can catch on to it if you're a kid.
Yeah.
You know, Hey Jude or Yellow Submarine. I mean, it's brilliant. But then it's not, you know, it's not that simple. The more you learn about music. And then as you get older, especially with a group like the Beatles, you're like, oh my God, they were so brilliant. The band that really made me want to play guitar, like I never stopped loving the Beatles. I always loved the Beatles. But then it was really Kiss that sort of pushed me to want to play guitar. And I still like those old Kiss records. I don't worship them like I used to, you know. And as you know, after making many studio albums myself, you know, you develop a trained ear, and you realize, okay, maybe Peter Criss isn't the greatest drummer in the world.
Maybe.
But
it was the spectacle. I mean, I still have my Kiss Army card. It was the spectacle.
Oh yeah,
of, like,
I have mine somewhere.
Like they were like nothing we had seen, you know.
Oh yeah,
it was the whole package. It wasn't based on just like musical talent. It was were.
Yeah. Well, they were like comic book superheroes too.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah, I got into them before I even heard a song. Yeah. And I knew I would like. I somehow knew thank goodness the songwriting is really good. And I was just listening to an interview with Bob Ezrin, who produced what's considered one of their best records, Destroyer.
Uh-huh.
And he has so much respect for Kiss at that time. Now, this is a guy who produced Peter Gabriel's first record. He produced The Wall. So this is like, this is not some slouch. This is somebody very sophisticated and respected in music, and he can appreciate Kiss. So, you know, I will defend at least that period of Kiss. Some of the later stuff, maybe not so much.
That's right. But if there was a foldout of them in a magazine, they were still okay. But
yeah, and it was like they were like the equivalent of X-Men or the Avengers today, except with instruments, right? It's all these incredible comic-like characters, but in real life. And then when I finally did hear them, I just right away it was great rock and roll, and I loved it. But I love the image, and their whole fan cultivation was brilliant, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like the Kiss Army, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like how brilliant of a psychological move is that? You know, these alienated kids, suddenly their need to belong is suddenly fulfilled. They're part of this unit, the Kiss Army.
Yeah.
I remember the day that Kiss Army package came in the mail. With like the card and the photo, and that was like the greatest day of my life.
Yeah. Well, it's so interesting to me because I came into obviously like the having grown up as like a punk rock kid who then kind of got into the metal scene. I was not like a big like your sort of classic nerd, and then when I started working in video games and stuff like that, I was kind of amazed to see that there's a huge crossover between sort of the nerd entertainment properties and metal and wrestling and stuff, but it's so much of the same elements, in that, like, there's a mystique, there's a way of dressing, there's a language, there's a music, it is this really, like, you get to be in a club kind of. And I mean, you and I know, I was laughing so hard because when I was watching Murder in the Front Row and the whole thing, like, no posers, and I'm like, I'm bringing that word back.
Oh yeah, poser.
Because it was the things that we got upset about were so, like, somebody wearing a Rat shirt to a thrash show or something like that, or God forbid, a punk rock show. And even when I started getting into the scene, I mean, I remember I was a punk rock girl and I was dating a heavy metal guy, and that was a no-no.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
That was the Romeo and Juliet situation.
Yeah,
and
you didn't do that.
And it was very, like, everybody had their kind of lane and their thing, because we were sort of marginalized and we didn't want somebody coming in and exploiting that. And I see it with nerd culture today, where people are like, man, this was our thing. Like, all of a sudden it's mainstream media. And so, yeah, like watching Metallica blow up, and you guys, and, all the other bands that I saw as a kid, is just wild, to see that you could be part of this one thing and then become, like, mainstream in a good way. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, what happened at Metallica was a whole other thing. That was like, nobody, no, I don't think anybody could have imagined that they would become as big as they got.
You guys are huge too, and the fact that you can, I mean, do we ever
in
think
our own way,
that you could make a living, however many years later, like, doing the thing that you loved in high school?
It's great. And I'm grateful for it. And then, in a way, I mean, yes, I don't think anybody would mind having their income and being able to buy a private island or whatever, but the pressure, I don't know if I would want that kind of pressure.
No.
And I love that I'm kind of free to create, to be myself. Yes, I have my place in the band, but because the band isn't like, this all-consuming thing, there's room to be somebody outside of the band as well.
Yeah.
And I really prefer that. I don't know if I could handle the pressure of being like at that level.
Yeah. In the grocery, we always joke about it as voice actors. We're like, yeah, we can just go to the grocery store and it's fine. Right. It's only when you see, at a convention or on some special thing that anybody knows who the heck you are, and it's kind of nice. Yeah,
yeah, and you can always, everybody, you can always explain who you are based on, like, even if they're not familiar with you, they're probably familiar with some of the films you're in or some of the voices you've done. And it's kind of the same thing. Like, if I walk outside my door, well, it would be hard to find one person that has not heard of Metallica.
Right.
Every single person on that street, I promise you, has heard of Metallica. They have not necessarily heard of Testament, but I can mention Slayer, Megadeth. Most people have heard of them. And anybody who hasn't heard of Testament has probably heard of one of those bands. And I just say, oh yeah, we've toured with bands like Megadeth and Slayer, Yeah. And it's a good level to be at. But I have to say, like, I hadn't seen you in so long. It was really cool to see you have this whole foothold and the voiceover world and doing these characters. I'm sorry we lost touch. I had no idea what you'd done. It was so great. I'll just tell the story to people here. Like, I hadn't seen Courtenay since, it had to been at least 10 years.
Yeah. I think I saw you at the Golden Gods Awards briefly, I think.
Oh, that's right.
But then before that, it had been,
that's right. I remember. And that was so overwhelming.
Yeah.
Those events are so overwhelming because then it's like, you know.
So, yeah, I mean, but it's great to reconnect with you. I do
Yeah.
want to let people know who are just joining us that this is Between Two Nerds. We are a nerd voter registration and education effort to get people that voter information in the nerd space, which traditionally was Comic-Con and
Yeah.
stuff. But now we've started Between Two Nerds, and we are branching out of just, we started out with voice actors because that's what we are. And now we have awesome guitar players, and we've had all kinds of folks on. If you want to check out the pinned comment, you can go to NerdsVote.com to get registered, check your registration, learn a little bit more about what we do, and you can also rock our NerdsVote classic tees.
Yeah, we're gonna have a little talk about that.
I know. I'm gonna send you one. I promise. I need to get your size. But so, getting to the voting thing, is there like, and I know because I knew you around voting age. Do you have a particular voting memory or anything that, like, having grown up in Berkeley, obviously we were, indoctrinated into the importance of voting very early. So do you have any particular voting memory, or if not a memory, like a way that you do things when it's voting day?
Well, I have a pre-voting memory, which kind of turned me off of politics for a while.
Uh-huh.
But it's interesting because I'm sort of a political junkie now. Now I subscribe to the Washington Post, the New York Times, the New Yorker, the Atlantic. I've read the Mueller report, so I've made up for it. But our big guitar teacher in the Bay Area was Joe Satriani, who became very well known later. But at the time, nobody knew who he was, except guitar players. And he had a waiting list, and I was on this waiting list for him. And I finally got a chance to go in and have my first lesson. It was the same day that a presidential candidate, Gary Hart, was speaking in Berkeley. And my mom, kind of being this closeted political activist, really wanted me to go and really wanted me to have this experience. Seeing the presidential, to her it was like this could be the next Roosevelt, or and he was chronically late. So like an hour goes by and 2 hours goes, like he's still not there. And I finally told my mom, it was like one of the first times I stood up to my mom. I think I was like 14 years old. And I just, and she wanted me to blow off this lesson. And so that day, like I chose Joe Satriani over Gary Hart.
And your mom.
And my mom.
You chose Joe Satriani over your mom. That is a bold move.
Yeah. And then having studied with Joe Satriani, turned out to be, this feather and a cap. It's like
it's a badge of
honor. It's a major credential. It made me a much better musician. Joe Satriani became one of the best known and most respected musicians of the guitar, period. Fast forward, Gary Hart was caught with a woman that wasn't his wife on a boat called the Monkey Business.
Frolicking.
He was a disgrace. Yeah, he was thrown out of politics.
Never to be heard from again. So you made the right choice, Alex.
Yeah. And then for a long time, and I was angry. Like, how dare he blow us off? And,
that's right. He owes you time. Time is money. He owes you money.
Yeah. Well, it did. I think it did affect me because he probably did not think about how his being perpetually late is affecting the lives of these people that are waiting for him.
Yeah.
And I know, maybe it's a very different scenario being a musician and being in politics, but still, you have an audience and you have people that are waiting to see you, and they're much more affected by meeting you or an event that you do than you realize, because you do this you're around you all the time.
Right.
You wake up with you. It's no big deal. But for somebody that doesn't know you and they're they're going to be so much more affected by this. So it just made me much more aware of when I meet people that know me for my music or I perform. Yeah, I just always wanted to have more respect than certain politicians had for
Scary
the
hard.
Democrats.
Let's just say it. It's scary hard.
Yeah.
We just, it's actually one of the reasons that we kind of made Nerds Vote was because I was thinking that if I had met somebody when I was younger who did talk to me about the importance of voting, we're a nonpartisan organization, but we do try and stress the importance of actually getting out the vote. And if I had had conversations with someone like, if I was an aspiring guitarist and I either met you or was able to communicate with you on social media and were able to see your thoughts on it or have a conversation with you about it, I would take that away and be like, hey, this photo is this picture of me and Alex Skolnick together on the day that, I went and registered to vote and he was there, or we had a conversation about it on Twitter. And so now it means something different to me instead of just like, oh, this is my civic duty, I have to do it.
Right.
So that if we could, obviously we started out with your favorite like video game characters, but to have that association, because really the importance of all of this is, somebody's going to decide for you if you don't make a decision. Somebody is going to cast a vote in your stead for you. So we just wanted to stress how important it was that people get out and vote, and especially now with
please
how both available it is to vote, you can vote early, that you can vote by mail, but how not available it is for voting in person at this time. That people really need to think about it in advance, make a plan, because if you're not going to vote by mail or you can't vote by mail, that you need to understand that like November 3rd, it's going to be crazy, right? And so do you need to take the day off work? Do you need to go with a friend? Do you need to like figure out where you're going to park and all that stuff so that you can get this done? Because if your vote didn't matter, people wouldn't be making it difficult for you to vote. So
plan it now.
To plan it now, and also to register to vote by mail if you can. And so that was actually sort of the cornerstone of making Nerds Vote.
Well, it's gotten much more important. It feels much more important to vote now. My first vote it felt kind of hopeless, guys. So the first time I could vote was the 1988 election. And, George Bush, didn't turn out as we wanted. But still, it felt good just to exercise that power. I still I never had any doubts that I would be somebody who votes. And, have like you, I grew up, constantly, with the importance of voting emphasized. But I had no idea. I had no idea like how difficult it is for some people to vote, and how not everybody wants people to vote. Like the idea that there are politicians, and I'm not going to name any right now, but that actually prefer a low voter turnout. They'd rather people don't express who they want, because then that's bad. That's really bad. Like if you're,
then they can choose for you. And it's really the most patriotic thing that you can do to contribute to our democracy, and in numbers so great that they can't be denied. And so that is, when people say, oh, it doesn't matter, or I don't do politics or whatever, I'm like, but they're also like, I love my country. I'm like, this is the thing. Like, if you love your country, like, be part of the steering committee, like make your thoughts and wants known. And it doesn't mean just voting and then setting it and forgetting it. It means, especially as you start to pay taxes, as you start to want to know where your money that you're paying is being allotted to vote in local and state elections as well, to keep in touch with your representatives, let them know what they're doing that you like and don't like. Because this is your country, it's your state, it's your local elections where they're deciding, allocations for policing, for transportation, for schools, for judges, all that stuff that we're like, it's boring. But if you can make it kind of fun and get together with friends, obviously now we have to do it by Zoom, but and kind of, in California, we have so many ballot measures and stuff where you can just be like, hey, you take these three, I'll take these three, you take these three candidates, we'll reconvene in 45 minutes. You don't have to make the same decisions, but at least you can kind of spread the work around. And so then kind of celebrate and be like, we did this thing. It's cool.
Yeah. It's really cool what you're doing.
To kind of, change that. Now, when you do cast your vote, we love this question, but we always say, like, when you go to the ballot box, who are you voting for? And we don't mean a candidate. We mean when you cast that vote, who are you hoping is affected by your vote? Who are you voting on behalf of or in favor of? Not necessarily not party, but just, is there a group of people or your parents or your kids?
Yeah, no, it's, I definitely think about the planet, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Stuff like what happened in Flint, Michigan with the drinking
Mm-hmm.
water. What's happened in the Dakotas with, native lands, what's happened with, there's so many examples of this. I try to vote for the type of people that would never let that happen. And then if that did happen, they would try to stop it. And I like people who admit they're wrong. That can, most of the people I voted for, I've seen them, they're capable of apologizing and say, oh, I was wrong, or I've evolved, my views have evolved.
Mm-hmm. So important.
Yeah. And we're just in this really strange culture of people who say things like, my opponent hates this country. Yeah. Anybody who doesn't vote for you hate America.
Yeah.
Okay, well, you lost. Like, if you say that about anybody, like, you have no credibility. And we are ruled by so many people that have that attitude right now. Luckily, in New York, where I live, it's not that common. Although, there's like one or two local politicians, Staten Island and Long Island, where there's always somebody like that, but it's pretty rare. But I kind of feel like I'm on an island, and then when I travel throughout the states, obviously I'm not doing that this year, but I'm just shocked that people buy into that rhetoric, and so it's I really just try to find people that just seem like decent people.
Yeah, and I think that's important too. Is like to find people who are flexible enough to say, because the world has changed so much in the last couple of decades. I always, when people talk about people's voting records and things from 30 years ago, I'm like, man, women couldn't even get a home loan until like 1978 without their husbands co-signing. Mm-hmm. Like you couldn't get a credit card as a woman. We still haven't passed the Equal Rights Amendment, but it was very different worlds back then. So
it's not that long ago.
Yeah. And so, I think that's something to consider. And if people can look back and say, hey, this was the climate then, and I've changed and I've evolved, it's really important.
I see a comment here. Alex was very active on social media before Trump. What are you talking about? I think I have more, if anything, I'm much more active on social media. Sometimes it drives people crazy.
I love it.
I get headlines because of my activity on social media. So follow my social media. You'll see. I'm very, very active. Somebody else wants to know my thoughts on Cuomo.
Yes, and we only have, I will warn you, Instagram Live
only get cut off
on for an hour. So we only have about 3 more minutes.
Oh, shoot. Okay.
So be brief about Cuomo, then tell us what your favorite food is.
Yeah, I'm for Cuomo. I went through, those of us in New York that just went through the whole situation and how he handled it like a champion. Sometimes he can be a caricature of a politician, but I feel like he comes through. I don't agree with him on everything. I didn't agree with him on the Amazon situation. I didn't when Amazon was going to move to Astoria. I didn't.
Mm-hmm.
He's a little bit cozy with big tech. It's like
Mm-hmm.
the Google people and stuff. But you know what? He's a lot better than someone, and he really handled things. I think we're one of the best places to be right now. When we were like the leper colony of the United States. Nobody wanted to be around. Yeah. So, man, this went by so quick. Jeez.
I know.
And I don't want to monopolize our remaining 2 minutes. So.
No, we have 2 minutes. So
okay.
Again, let's see. Let's see.
There's so much I missed here. Sorry, guys. Wow.
I know.
Oh my God.
What?
We will
have Alex back on, you guys. So obviously, we're gonna have to do some more of this. But awesome. Let's say, what's your favorite food?
Favorite food? I'm a big fan of Indian food.
Indian food.
Yeah.
Right on.
Love India.
Just gorged on some the other night. How's the Indian food in Brooklyn?
Oh, we got some great ones. Some really good. I'm a big fan of curries and the pickles. The pickles are an acquired taste. I love it. I splatter the pickles all over my food.
So, okay, guys, so we do have to wrap this up. I want to make sure we don't get cut off because when I drive, usually we get cut off because I forget to watch the clock. But if you are joining us, this is Between Two Nerds, minus a nerd today. I'm Courtenay Taylor.
We're the two nerds.
NerdsVote.com.
Yeah.
You can check us out on NerdsVote.com. You can look at the pinned tweet below and get all the information. I'm talking with Alex Skolnick, my dear old friend.
My dear friend.
From the Legacy days. And he is the guitar player for Testament and the Alex Skolnick Trio. And you can follow him on social media. It's just Alex Skolnick, right?
At Alex Skolnick, yep.
Okay, so easy.
Everywhere.
And the last thing we kind of do is just to sign us off. However you want to sign us off. Just remind people to vote, that we're Nerds Vote, you're Alex, and we're good. Okay,
this has been great. Thank you for joining us. Thank you, Courtney, for having me. We were supposed to hang in LA. It didn't happen because of all
COVID.
This crazy one day. And this is Nerds Vote. Don't forget to vote. Register to vote. Pay attention to what's going on. Read everything. Don't get stuck in your one universe. We all do that. We get caught up in our little self-perpetuating universe. But pay attention. Read get different perspectives. Be nice, though. Be nice. Be kind. And don't vote for people who aren't kind. Don't vote for people who don't like animals.
Very much so.
Yeah.
Thank you, Alex. I will
see
you
Courtney.
Soon. I'll be in touch. I'll send you a shirt. This has been amazing.
I'm waiting.
We'll see you soon.
Okay. Thanks, everybody. Thanks,
bye, guys. Thanks so
Bye.
much. Thanks for watching Between Two Nerds. Follow us, and we will see you on Thursday with an amazing guest who is, I don't know who it is. So follow us on social media and we'll announce it. Thanks, guys. Bye.